Welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living podcast. Man, it has been since May since I've released an episode. So that's going on, what is it, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. It's December right now. So almost what, 5, 6, 7, 8 months? 7, 8 months since I released an episode. And man, what a fucking journey everything has been on. I'm actually going to bring this podcast back season 2 with a whole different mindset, a whole different ideology and how I'm going to bring this content to the world, bring this impact to the world, bring this intention to the world. But the subject of this podcast is just updates, what's to come, what's more about me. I have a lot more following, which is I'm very super fucking grateful for. I have a lot more people in my corner networking that don't necessarily know a lot about my history, my past. And to be honest, a lot of people don't really understand. A lot of people don't know where I come from. You know what I mean? Like, I've been doing this positive, quote unquote, kick journey, or I've had Extreme Lifestyle Living, that brand, for last 2 years. So this is just a whole write-up of how I got to where I'm at now. It's going to be brutally fucking honest. I'm going to be very vulnerable. I'm going to be very honest of how I got here and why I got here, because yeah, I'm very excited for 2023. I'm excited for some stuff I have coming on. Not only am I a sole owner and operator of the Extreme Lifestyle Living, but I have the Extreme Lifestyle Living brand. I have the Extreme Lifestyle Living marketing, where I market for other people. I have the Extreme Lifestyle Living coaching, where I'm a personal head coach and I have a team for coaching clients, coaching successful fucking people take control of their life, which I'll get into in a bit, because that is what I'm so fucking excited to talk about. My program, what I've captivated me, my team. And I'm excited to continuously bring this to the world with the utmost confidence and the utmost drive to change as many lives as I can with this. And that's kind of why I'm doing this podcast, is to give in a little bit of a background of how I got here, why I have the confidence I have now, why I deserve to have the confidence I have now, and anyone listening or anyone that's been following me to understand that if they have grown like I've grown over the last little bit, that they deserve to have this confidence, and to understand that a lot of people that follow my journey, that if I'm doing this, sitting here in my garage podcast setup studio with all my mics, like I'm literally wrapped up in a blanket right now, sitting with all my equipment, chilling. And this is my safe haven. And if I can fucking do it, if I can go from where I'm coming from to come to here, from the bottom of my heart to the top, you can fucking do it too. So let's fucking get into it. I want to start off about how I got into the fitness industry in general. And I had a podcast episode come out about, obviously last time I did it, about a little bit of an update. And I'll be honest, I lied a lot in that. And I wasn't lying intentionally, being like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. I lied to myself a lot in that episode. And it's a remarkable journey of what I'm going on with this. And that's actually why I took a step back from the podcast, because I realized it wasn't in the light that I wanted to be in. It was great, but it wasn't fulfilling. I was doing a lot of good movements, a lot of good things, a lot of good headways for social media with mental health, primarily men's mental health, but overall. But it just wasn't hitting on the head. So when I took this step back, I was like, let me just figure out where my passions, my fulfillments come through. And that's when I got exposed to myself that I've been lying to myself a lot. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I've been in the fitness industry since I was fucking 8, 9 years old. And and I know that sounds maybe excessive, but I've been just obsessed with fitness for a long time. And I'm going to talk about how I tied that into mental health and how I can say how I got here. But ever since I was a kid, I was always obsessed with like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jay Cutler, Phil Heath. And then ever since I can remember, and I'll talk about this in a bit, but my depression really led me astray in terms of suppressing these memories and making myself feel negative emotions that I shouldn't be feeling because of the rut that I was in and the depressive spiral that I was in. So when I started to really like peel back these layers of my depression and my mental adversities, I really started to understand and see myself in a different light. And I was like, holy shit, I really do have more passions for certain industries than I thought. I really have been in this fitness room for a lot longer than I am saying, so I should give myself more respect in all these different avenues. So what I'm trying to say is I never played sports. So for me personally in the gym, I never felt superior. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I know there's some people that are going to be able to speak to that with me, you know, because there's gym goers. Like, I used to get into arguments. I won't name them right now. I almost got into an argument with one of my boys probably 4 or 5 years ago, just saying like athleticism, like, yeah, sure, like outside of the gym, like I'm confident that if you played sports, you can outperform me for sure. But when you're talking about in a commercial gym or in an actual gym with the equipment and overall comfortability and knowledge, like no, I'll clean sweep you all day, because it's not the same. Going to a commercial gym, and I'm not saying athletic gym, because again, depending on the trainers there, but just going to a commercial gym with your own membership is not the same as going to athletic sports. So for me, like, I never felt like I was worthy to be an authoritative figure within the fitness community because I never played sports. And sports are like, man, like my best friend Julian, shout out my guy, everyone knows him. You see him, you see me, you see me, you see him. He was gifted at athletics. Like, he was always like, no matter what sport he played, he was the number one guy. Like, my brother played on Team Canada rugby, Prevent Ontario rugby. He still plays rugby now. He's a big guy. He was always like he was always uh, a guy that people would look for to be on his team, you know what I mean? And then like all my friends were, and then there was me, the guy that hit puberty like 4 years later than everybody, that just was a smaller kid, you know what I mean? And with that being said, like too, like on top of being like a smaller kid, hitting puberty later and some other adversities that I've been through growing up, like I always felt as a young kid, like before I get into the story about how I got into my teens and fitness, like as a young kid, I always just felt inferior as a child and as a man when I got into 14, 15, 16, because not only did I hit puberty late and felt that conditioning of society, because you have some guys with fucking beards in grade 9, 10, and you're like, what, barely getting chin here until you're 19. So it's one of those things where you hit puberty late, you always feel inferior on top of that. But there was a lot of adversities I went through as a child as well, in terms of, and again, I don't want it to sound a sob story, but me and my brothers being in and out of foster care, trying to figure out like who's going to adopt us, our the family drama that was always instilled into us, like the childhood trauma. Like, there's all kinds of shit that everyone goes through, so I don't want to make it about that. But I just want to say, with that little piece of going through my physical adversities in and out of foster care, from, yes, I did get beat in foster care, and I got beat, and that's why I was put in foster care. But there's all these different avenues that just owning my truths and understanding that those two avenues there, and there's obviously more to that story, 100%. But those led up to me feeling inferior, because on top of that, I did not have a male-dominant figure in my life. Shout out Julian, shout out Jeff, shout out Matthew, shout out Justin, shout out Jared. A lot of my friends starts with J's, but these guys, like, they took me under their wing, and they know I look up to them, and not like a father, obviously, but like a strong male role model, you know what I mean? And it took me years to figure out that part of my ego, that part of my life, that part of my deficiencies of my mental health. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because I convinced myself that I was nobody within this field, nobody within this market, and I never ever thought about going through the revelations that I went through to get back to where I'm at currently. I never thought I'd ever have to go down this road twice. And what I mean by twice is, and I'm going to lead up to that, is when you go from one style of your life, because again, I used to be a chubby kid that played Call of Duty every day, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm painting this picture very clearly, so a lot of people understand that, like, as a kid, I did not come into this fitness world gifted. I did not come in this fitness world and this community with a lot of tools and resources. I grew up with my grandmother, with no male figures around, on social assistance / welfare. I never played a lick of fucking sports, and I was just a young, scrawny kid that played Call of Duty, got chubby, sat in the house all day, hit puberty later than everybody. And that's just what it is. That's just straight up what it is. Due to my way I grew up, I was very, and I don't want to blame, I want to say half of it's the way I grew up and half it's just me being an insecure kid. You know what I mean? There's no way I'm going to sit here and pretend to sit in my seat and be a victim. I'm not going to do that. But I will say there is some stuff that I went through as a child that I do believe altered the way I feel about myself and my surroundings. And it took me a long time to understand that. So the reason why I'm explaining all that before I even get to like 13, 14 years old when I start to actually hit the gym is because I want to give everyone an idea of like where I actually come from. Like, I did not come from this cookie cutter family with like financial stability where it's like at 3, 4 years old, you're put into like these 6 or 7 different sports. I was not put into I didn't have support. I didn't have any of this stuff. And I'm very grateful for the support I did have. I still got my mom in my life. I love her to death. I got my grandmother, my grandfather, like everyone's still around. My brother's this week, he's having a beautiful baby girl. My other brother, Lulu, got Navy, beautiful baby girl. Like everyone's fucking really great and doing great, but it's we cannot take away, just because we're here together and we're healthy and we're happy, it does not mean we cannot take away from our truths as a children. And does that ruffle feathers with my family? Of course. Are they going to listen to some of the shit that I'm saying on this podcast and probably call me and rip me apart a little bit? Of course. But it all comes with the territory, right? And not everyone's willing to own their truth as much as they are, as I am. And that's brutally honest. I'm here to own it all. And that's why I want to give you a little bit of a rundown of kind of how I got into this. Because before I ever went into the gym and even touched weights, I was always just fascinated with the men's masculinity in terms of like the movie scenes. You know what I mean? Like watching Arnold Schwarzenegger on the Predator movies, even watching the Predators in those Alien versus Predator movies and seeing the muscular status of those. Playing video games opened my mind to a whole different idea of what I could imagine what a male could be. And especially when you start getting into video games, anyone that knows video games, RPG, start to create your own realities and shit like that. Like you really get to self-express yourself, right? So the reason why I'm saying that is because I never grew up with a lot of stability and support for these different ideologies. And a lot of people put me in this light based on how I look and how I act, and they think and assume that I had certain things. So no. By the time I didn't hit the gym until I was about 13 or 14, and my first time I went to the gym, it was Julian and Shaka. I was bench pressing, barbell bench pressing, and they were doing a plate. So a plate, for anyone that doesn't really understand that yet, is it's a 45-pound plate on both sides. They were benching that, doing their thing in grade 9, 10. This is what I'm saying. Like these guys are big guys, or they were doing 35s, whatever. They put on the bar and then a 25 for me. First day ever in the fucking gym, like no word of a lie. And they unracked that. There was 95 pounds in total. They unracked it, and that fucking bar hits my chest. I can't even move it. And that was the first time I ever went to the gym. It was grade 9. First time I went to the gym in grade 8 and stuff like that with my buddy Cody and stuff. But it was more so just like screwing around with the weights and just being in there with him and his father and stuff. So I got into it younger, but actually hands-on with my friends that were like more athleticism that could bring stuff into the gym was around grade 9. I started getting into it like routinely. Like I started making it more of a non-negotiable, because this is the funny thing about it, which is this is where I know I'm blessed, and I'm really, this is why I have the confidence to sit here and make this podcast episode and just talk about it all, is that when that 95 pounds hit my chest, and I just looked up at Julian and Shaka like, damn, bro, like you guys gonna help me? Like what's going on? The next, like after that, I just couldn't get over like after the euphoric effects of how I felt of like I just couldn't get over it. Like just like you're sore and it's all from your hard work and what you're doing, and just something about that muscle soreness, that muscle tenderness that for some people I don't want to sound triggering, but it got me high. It got me high. It was euphoric. And since that day, like God honest truth, right hand up to God, the gym has been a non-negotiable in my life. Like the biggest thing for the gym that saved me was the mental adversities and the clarity it gave you. Like, again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like my life was horrendous and like I hated every avenue of it and all those things, because there's people out there with far worse scenarios and situations than I have, and I'm far aware of that. And I'm very, very, very fucking grateful to be growing up the way I did. Because, again, I get into it in a bit about the community and what I want to do. Like, it's a reason why I want to do a lot of stuff, because I've lived it and I've seen it. But again, I'm speaking to a lot of it from not my perspective for some things, because I was a camaraderie with some of these individuals that I don't want to say they're not strong enough to talk about some of these subjects, but when you're actually being put under the nail, it's hard to talk about it. So I speak for a lot of people, and that's what I stand for, is the community. But the gym just really changed my life. Like, I just can't even explain it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward a little bit, because right now it's about, I just wanted to give you a big kind of like introduction of like kind of how I got started into working out, because so many people limit themselves on what they think they should do based on how they grew up. Like, I don't have one fucking athletic bone in my body. I don't have no man strength neither. We can talk about that, and I don't want to offend anybody with saying that, quote unquote, man strength. But what I mean by man strength is, if you want me to build something in your house, won't fucking do it. You want me to hang curtains? Nope. Hang a picture? Nope. Build a dresser? No. The blessing of growing up the way I did was I'm very mentally agile, because I never had to do anything. I'm lazy. I will think my way out of it, and I'm honest with that. But that's why me and DJ always joke. Like, when every time I gotta move, I call my brother DJ, and he's like, "Fuck's sakes, bro," because I'm lazy. I don't know. I just don't have man strength. It's just like, that's what I'm saying. So the gym just really gave me, like, it just gave me this crazy. I never had it in my life. It just gave me this euphoria of feeling great. And fast forward, like, from 14 years old to 21 years old, I'm doing my first program. And when I was 21 years old, I want to captivate. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but I pretty much just like was in the fitness industry kind of spinning my tires in the gym from 14 years old to 21 years old. And in grade 10, when I moved to Ontario, and I actually went into a fitness program because Ontario athletics are a lot advanced compared to Nova Scotia here. So anyone that's actually listening, Nova Scotia, Canada, Ontario, Niagara Falls, Canada. I know I have some people I talk to all the time that's in the United Kingdom. Some people in Australia. I got some people that I talk to in the States. I don't know where everyone's at, and I really appreciate everybody I talk to all the time. But to paint a picture, I went to Niagara Falls in grade 10 when I was 14. So after grade 9, hanging with Julian and Shaka, bench pressing and get my chest caved in by the weights, I went to grade 10 the next year after. I went to Toronto, and I went to high school up there to live with my mother and my brothers. And when I was up there, the gym class was absolutely insane. Monday was 20-minute hall runs. Tuesdays was runs to the falls. Wednesdays were like some type of hit workout. Thursdays was the Stanford Collegiate Hornet workout. And Fridays was in-class training. So this is where it's kind of funny. I'm getting cold chills right now because the passion still relights in me every time I talk about it. That's when I really started to get my feet wet with like, damn, like I want to help people with the gym because I know what it's like to, like at that point, I didn't really know what it was like to feel like shit. I just understood. I was starting to understand. I didn't enjoy the way I felt every day because again, around grade 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's when you kind of really start to grow into who you are and either flourish or you're kind of hurt a little bit. And I think everyone in between those ages hurt within reason. But what I'm saying is I knew this was for me. I started working out every fucking day, 5-6 times a week. I had guidance around me. I was working out with the football team in Toronto. I was working out with the basketball team, like, you know what I mean? And that's when I really captivated who I was within the gym. And I moved home to Nova Scotia in grade 11. And I was bigger than a lot of guys. I was bigger than a lot of people. I was just like, it was actually fucking great. And I won't lie, it felt good. You know what I mean? You're grade 11. You're what? I was 16, 17. I was, I think I was 16. And it's like I was stronger than a lot of other guys that weren't there. There's some guys on the sports teams that I could lift more. I was more of a community. I could go to the gym, and these guys knew who I was now. And it felt fucking great. Do you know what I mean? To come from ultimately nothing. Like I built myself up on the backhand of my hard work within building myself up. And that right there was just like, that was more reassurance. So like, this is what I need to be doing. This is what I want. And this is where it becomes like a turning point where it's hard to talk about this because a lot of people give you empathy or sympathy or look at you in a different regard. And I don't want to be looked at differently. And I hate that shit because it's like, you're listening to my podcast. Why are you giving me sympathy? I help you with mental health and certain adversities. Why are you giving me sympathy? Don't feel bad for me. Feel bad for you if you're not moving forward in your life. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of why the vibe I feel. And if that does offend anybody, I do apologize. That's not my intentions to get defensive before I talk about a subject. But the thing is I was in a car accident that ultimately changed my entire life. Like I'll never forget it. Like I'll even talk about a scenario in design class. Brad Beckett and a couple other people I used to talk to all the time. I used to sit beside them in class. And if you guys, I don't know if they ever listen to it, anyone does, but I'll never forget this. This is just to captivate how severe this moment was for me. There's 2 to 3 people. It was like Brad, 2 other people that I used to talk to every fucking day in design class. And I would if I could paint a picture, how I'm sitting down recording this episode, like it's a classroom. They're sitting beside me. Like it was grade 11. I used to talk to these guys all the time. And then once I got hit by this car, I couldn't even speak to them. And they were sitting right beside me. That's how depressed I was. And to this day, which is why it makes it hard, I can't give you an answer of why or where that comes from. And I'll be honest, that does still upset me. It still kind of bugs me because it's like one of those things where I was living my life. Like, you know what I mean? I felt inferior in my childhood. I felt like I couldn't reach any masculinity because I was smaller than everybody, didn't have a male figure. And then I slowly start to get my grasp within the gym from grade 9, 10. And then grade 11, I move home. It was so fucking crazy. Like I fly home from Niagara Falls. As soon as I get off the plane, I don't even go home. Julian, my best boy, picks me right up. We go to a party. Next day we're at another party. And it's like, I start living my life. And I ultimately thought my life was going to go one way. You know what I mean? Like I did. And then 7:45 in the morning, fast forward to 8:15 a.m. I was hit by a car. I was T-boned. I didn't have my seatbelt on and I was bedridden for 2 weeks in the hospital that day until 6 p.m. And pretty much I got an inguinal hernia. So the pressure of the car accident blew a hole in my abdominal wall. I didn't tear my right rotator cuff, but I fucking really injured both rotator cuffs from being flying to both sides of the car. And then I got knocked unconscious and then had a severe concussion. It was all jacked up. And then, yeah, I was in the hospital from like 9 a.m. till about 6 or 7 p.m. Then I went home and I was bedridden for 2, 3 weeks. And then I can get a whole different story about how life got fucked up with the family stuff. And I moved out like 6 months after that. But long story short, that was what really had the turning point in terms of my entire fucking life. But I wouldn't give that up for anything, because what the car accident has taught me is an immense amount of resiliency. Because you remember earlier in this podcast when I said that when I was a kid, in those first few times I went to the gym, and I said the gym became a non-negotiable for me. Well, man, I am so blessed to have this part of me, but the car accident didn't shake that feeling at all. At all. Not one fucking second did that car accident shake that feeling. I was bedridden for 2 months, or 2 weeks, sorry, and then I was limping, literally limping for probably 4 or 5 months. I had an inguinal hernia, and I got it when I was 16. I didn't get surgery until I was 21, so I had it for 5 years, and it progressively got worse, obviously. And there's a whole different story about why I didn't get it done. I had to go to physio 3 times a week for 8 months. I did massage therapy for, I think, 3 to 4 times a week for 5 weeks straight. I was diagnosed with PTSD, OCD tendencies, anxiety, depression, all this fucked up stuff that is just normal within our life, but the doctor's got to put a name on it so they feel better about their job. That's just my opinion. I probably offended a couple people. I do not mean that, but just your diagnosis or whatever these doctors say, you can't take it too serious. Because at 16, they told me I was never going to overhead press again, never bench press again, and never shoulder press or deadlift again because my inguinal hernia was so bad and my rotator cuffs were so fucked up. And I was going to physio, and these guys could not put me back together. And I remember that. This is why I had the resiliency I have. This is why I have the energy that when I start captivating people's attention, I have it because it's not negotiable. And this is where I really want you to understand that now that you're listening, and understand that this is the turning point for not my career, but I want you to understand this because a lot of people cannot understand mental adversities unless it resonates with their story to themselves. But when I tell them about the car accident and what I've been through, for some reason that pain can resonate with them and they understand it, because for some reason it's like that type of physical trauma can resonate with everybody. And I don't know what it is about that, but this is what I want to say and what I want to take out of this before I move on from the car accident subject. And that is, since I got hit by that car, there has not been one day, not one day, that the gym was not on my schedule. There's been times I went to the gym and I've pulled my back trying to change to get ready for the gym, and I still went in there and benched. I had hernia surgery at 21 years old. They gave me 14 days to recover. Day 15, I was in the gym benching. So the reason why I'm saying this stuff, that's the gym being non-negotiable and people understanding can relate to the physical traumas, but when I talk about the mental, they can as well, is that that's how bad the mental trauma was. Is that the gym, no matter how bad my physical pain was and how bad that car accident physically put me in pain. I'm in pain right now doing this podcast. I have a headache. Like, it just is what it is. I had a chiropractor yesterday. Like, I just live with this for the rest of my life, and it's a part of who I am, and I do not define by it. And that's the key component. But what I'm trying to say is I got hit by this car, inguinal hernia, rotator cuff issues. I literally got that, and I'll even talk about where this leads up and where I get to, but it did not compare to the mental hurt. It did not compare to the mental trauma. It did not compare to the depression that I felt. It did not compare to the damage and the hurt that I felt from going in and out of foster care. It did not compare to the depression I felt from not having my mother or my father or my brothers around growing up. It did not compare to not having the answers to the questions that I was asking for why my life was the way it was between 1 year old and 14, 15 years old. And I'm going to pause for a second there because I want you to think about that, because I want you to understand that. I got hit by this car, and there was not one day that I stopped the gym. Not one fucking day. Not one day. And there's a lot of people out there that have these excuses of why they can't do things. And I'm not comparing tomatoes and apples and oranges or whatever that saying is, but what I am saying is that that's how big a deal is mental health is. So the blessings of this car accident is that it has given me an enormous amount of education and experience for prehab and rehab exercises. And my ideology on training is far so, I don't want to, how do I say this? It's so far more I don't want to say intelligent. I'd say more articulate. Like the way I look at people move is more articulate compared to someone that just read a couple PT books or that has a couple passion. And the reason why I say that is because if you don't know what it's like to live in pain, you can't speak to this perspective. Because unless you know what it's like to have gut-wrenching pain where it's through your soul and you're sitting over your fucking toilet with an iced towel over your head praying to whoever's going to fucking help you, you can't speak to it. And there's a lot of people that discredit a lot of people that deal with pain because there is victims out there. And what I mean by victims, I mean victim mentalities. There's people out there that spread this pain bullshit. And they're like, I'm in pain. I can't do anything. And those people give us a bad name. And there's people like that with anxiety that get a little anxious and they ruin it for the people that are actually dying with the fucking severe issues. And I'm not coming, again, this is like, may sound political, ruffle some feathers, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Life's hard for everybody, so choose your fucking hard. And yeah, that's just straight up what it is. But the car accident has given me an enormous amount of knowledge and experience to speak to people with pain patterns and corrective exercises to ensure full muscle activation to, one, not only aesthetically be fucking pleasing more in the mirror because you have more access to your muscle bellies, but the efficiency of your metabolism and your immunity and your fucking physiology. I have a speech impediment. A lot of people know that. I say espresso wrong and I can't say Christian. But like I said, with this podcast episodes, I'm giving you the real rap raw of everything now. I'm not shying away from fucking anything. And so the car accident, and to be honest, that was in 2011, and I still suffer from that. It's 2023 now. We're going into that. So the reason why I'm bringing all that up is because I want you to understand by the time this car accident was done and by the time I got into the gym and started like really graduating high school and taking life by the horns for me, that's everything I've been through. So up at this point in this story, I have never had abs yet. I've never been shredded to the bone. I don't have a man bun yet up in this picture or this story. Do you know what I mean? And the car accident, I got into it in grade 11. I graduated high school, grade 12, obviously. Then I went to college. So fast forward to 21 years old. I'm going to the gym from grade 12 to I start going back to the gym in grade 12, grade 11. I got hit in March 11th, 2011. So the rest of that year I took off, started getting back in the gym around August, September, or like maybe it was later that next year, halfway through grade 11. Or no, grade 12, sorry. Yeah, it was halfway through grade 12, sorry, because I had half days. So the first semester of grade 12, I didn't really go to the gym. I was doing more physio, recovery exercises. But the second leg of the semester, I had the half period. So I had half days. So the half days I'd go to the gym. And I'd spend a lot of time in the gym because I had a lot of recovery stuff I had to do. But that's when I started getting back on the horse, started getting back onto the train and the working out and building myself up again. So between 16, 17 up until 21, the adversity as I dealt from there was just continuously dealing with the pain, continuously dealing with adversities. Because what happened was after the car accident, I couldn't overhead press because of my thoracic spine wasn't stable. I had an inguinal hernia. So that's for anyone that doesn't know what a hernia is, it's a hole in your abdominal wall. So that created pelvic floor issues, which internally shut off my left glute and shut off my lower body. So I couldn't do much lower body workouts without getting either like pelvic floor issues or lower back lumbar pain, which would then transcend into a fucking migraine. So it just was this spiral, but I never fucking gave up. And that's the thing I want to keep to everybody is I never gave up. What happened was I ended up getting chubbier, obviously, because like one, the pain I'm dealing with is atrocious. So I'm spiraling under depression. I also moved out at 17 from my family's house into another family's house from the girl that I was dating at the time. And that's a whole different story. But I didn't have support in any angle of my life aside from a friend. I just moved out. I got hit by a car. I moved out, living by myself, dealing with this pain, trying to go through school, understand my life. So I did the best I could with what I had. And then, of course, the biggest kicker was you turn 19, you start drinking with your friends. And I didn't know alcohol made you fat. So I joined college, turned 19. I'm a typical fucking dude. I go to Supplement King, go somewhere, and I buy Mutant Mass. I buy a mass gainer because I want to get as big as I fucking can. So then I started jamming a bunch of fucking mass gainer in me while I turned 19 and partying and I'm drinking. And then fast forward 4 months, I got chubby. I got up to like 192, 195 pounds. Remember, I'm leading up this story where I never played no sports, no athleticism. So like I'm 195 pounds chunky. I'm playing Call of Duty all the time. I'm going to the gym probably 4 to 6 times a week. Not really following anything regimentally. Like obviously I have all my experiences that's more regimented from like Ontario. So I'm a lot more regimented than the average Joe, but I'm far from a success plan. I'm far from hitting this ball out of the park. So I I started that. That was kind of the deal breaker. Like when I got stretch marks on my hips, and I got so upset. I got so upset because this was about 7 weeks of me. Oh no, what was it? It was like 7 or 8 weeks of me like trying. I was like started noticing that I was getting chubbier, and I started getting stretch marks. And I started like 7 8 weeks of like me continuously going through this routine of drinking every weekend and then taking this mask. And I was just like, man, like what's going on? Like, and then I was just like spiraled out of control. And then I hit my breaking point where I hit like 192, 195. And I remember I just looked in the mirror, and it was like, and this is a God honest truth. It gives me cold chills every time I tell this story. And I had that gut check. My gut checked me, and I looked in the mirror, and it was like that thing where I almost felt like I could fall to my knees with disappointment in myself. And it gives me cold chills every time, because the people that are listening that probably maybe get cold chills now and understand what it's like to look in the mirror and see absolute disgust, or feel that, and feel like all of these different negative emotions. Like the thing I want to say, the plethora of negative emotions, to really hit the nail on the head, to really captivate how daunting that emotion is. Because it's like, how do I get over this? And I'll never forget this. And this is where I changed my life. That's where I changed my fucking life. I was 21 years old. I remember it was like a week and a half. I was just every day I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is not it. And I remember it was a Wednesday morning, 8:30 a.m. And I was working for Scotiabank at the time. I was doing my placement for college, to graduate college, to go to St. Mary's. And there's a guy I followed online, and I really looked up to him. His name is Tristan Escalanto. And obviously I have no contact with this guy now. Yes, he has like 300,000 something followers on Instagram. But he was my first personal trainer online. And I remember 8:35 in the morning, I said, fuck it. I messaged him. I said, yo, I don't give a fuck what it costs. This is my situation. Tell me what you need. 12:30 p.m. that same day, I had everything situated. I started that Monday, and then for 60 days straight, I followed every fucking thing this guy told me to do. I had no cheat meals. I did not drink. I did not go to wing night. I fucking cut off everybody, and I said, I'm going to do what I need to do for me unapologetically. And the thing that I want you to understand, that if you're listening and really captivated in the story, is I did all this on the backhand of looking at myself in the mirror saying, I'm depressed. I know I'm having suicidal tendencies. I'm questioning my existence. And if I can look in this mirror in 60 days and see any type of physical change, that will give me enough hope and faith that I can change my mentality too. So I signed my life off for 60 days, and I did not fucking look left, right, up, down at all. I was 10 toes down, chin up, chest out with this fucking plan. And I said, this has to work. If this does not work, I do not know if I'm going to make it any longer. I do not know if I'm going to make it to C22. I don't know if I'm going to make it to C23, 24, 25. I gotta prove it. So I did a 2-month fucking journey. And within that 2-month journey, I went from a 192, 193 pound chubbier kid with a bowl cut essentially, to losing 35 pounds, going down to 162 pounds, to putting my hair up into a man bun, to having shredded six-pack abs with veins in them. And within that 60 days, my life changed so much that to this day, I'm still learning about it. To this day, not even to this day, like it's just, I can't even explain it. I looked up in 60 days, and anyone that knows me knows me. Like, I put a post up and I said, listen guys, this is what I'm doing for 60 days. Let's see what we can do. And I fucking went all in for 60 days. And when I looked up, I was a complete different fucking human. A complete fucking different human. And I can't even comprehend it. Like, it's absolutely insane. The same people that I used to walk up to and ask for help in the gym, that used to walk past me, were now coming up to me asking me how I got to the position that I was in. And they didn't even know that I was the same guy. Still to this day, December 2022, I'm now, like, I'm a full-time online mindset and performance coach. I have a full client roster list, and I'm continuously scaling it up, continuously changing more people, continuously changing more lives, and continuously getting into more avenues of the fitness and mental health market. And I still have people come up to me and say, how'd I do it? And I remember them from when I was a kid. There's a handful of guys I talk to on a weekly to monthly basis within the gyms that I see. And I look them right in the face and act like I don't know them. But they were literally there with me in the Sportsplex when I was that little kid that was asking everyone how they got so big. I was that little kid in the gym being like, how'd you get so shredded? Like, why do you look like that and I don't? And it was crazy because within the small short term of 2 months, losing the 35 pounds and really captivating who I was at that moment, like, was fucking life changing. And that's pretty much how I got into the bodybuilding fitness industry, was by that 2 months of turning point of really captivating all of my experiences. And luckily I was in a position with like the injury with the injury with the car accident and all that stuff. Like I was able to still do this type of working out, you know what I mean? Like, because again, that led me into competing, that led me into getting into bodybuilding. And meanwhile, while I did this 35-pound fat loss journey, I still had the hernia. Like I still had an inguinal hernia. I still had all these rotator cuff issues, still dealing with all these issues. I actually remember during this program, I actually pulled my back quite often. And I remember one time I pulled it and I was out for 4 days. So it was like, I'm just painting that picture because everyone thinks that everyone gets here like really easily, and they don't. It's all about every single fucking day captivating like who you are as a person and understanding that you just got to push forward regardless. And so that ultimately led me to start competing. And so what happened was I got into the best shape of my life. I had abs, had a man bun. I was like, fuck, like I'm an established person who I am. And this is still who I am today. So I was really excited, and it really, really started a whole other journey where I started to like, I was like, oh fuck, like then I switched gyms, I started getting more confidence, I started networking with more people, I started linking up with a lot more local people that took the gym just as serious as I did, and then I started getting into competitions and competing in men's physique, and that's kind of what, so around the time I was competing in then, so 21, I lost 35 pounds, fat loss journey, success, great. And then around 23, 24 is when I started getting into competing and really testing my level of ability with getting, I was like, let me just see what I could do. You know what I mean? Like I was from my first goal in the gym was a bicep vein, and to just like cure my depression a little bit, show myself that I could have a little bit of faith and hope within my life. And then all of a sudden, like, damn, like 6 months ago, I was like overweight, stretch marks on my hips, drinking every Saturday, going to Wingnet every Thursday, feeling like shit, to now I'm 35 pounds lighter. I have a whole new mentality on me. I'm looking at the horizon of getting another coach to compete and step on stage. And that was when I was 22, 23. And the reason why I wanted to share that whole story with everybody was just to captivate with how I started my fitness journey, how I even got into the light that I'm in right now. Because so many people think that people start off with these gifted attributes of their life and how they got into these certain avenues, or like they need to have these reasons or people put them in these positions. And no, like everything in your imagination is a pigment of your fucking imagination. If you want it, you shut the fuck up and you work for it. You set your plan and your goal plan, and you sit down and you do it. What's hard is dealing with your emotions that arise when you try to do this shit. What's hard is listening to your negative self-doubts and your negative patterns. What's hard is dealing with the people in your life that do not align with who you want to become and that hold you in your position that you're in. That's what's hard. Everything I talked about, every adversity I went through, none of that shit was hard. What was hard was staying in the position and being a victim and dealing with the emotions that were left for me to deal with. Was everything I've been through with a car accident, foster care, injuries, all this stuff, did it suck? Fuck yeah, it did. Fuck yeah, it did. But there's always two options with any of these avenues. And it's like you can either sit on the table and be a little baby about it and be boo-hoo. These are my cards that I have, and these are the way they're going to be dealt, and my life is this way. Or you can say, fuck that. This is what's on my plate, but I'm going to make sure I make the best out of it and captivate on it. I would not change my journey for anything. I will not change my journey for anything. I do not take the car accident back. I do not take any injury I've had. And all between this too, like this is just to get to the horizon of what really made me who I am. Because this is just to give you guys an understanding of how I got into the fitness journey, how I got into this light. The next episode is going to be talking about what did I do with all these adversities? What did I do when I started to compete and I won a men's physique challenge when I thought I was never going to do that? What did I do when I went from a depressed kid that just wanted to get a bicep vein? How did I go from that kid that had no bicep vein and that's all I wanted, to a kid that has more veins in his arms and he's leading a full online coaching business with a hell of a lot of clients, seeing a lot of success? How do I go from that? So episode 1 right now, this one here is just all about a little bit of a background story of how I got into fitness as a kid, how I led myself up into being who I am in this light. And I just wanted to give everyone a rundown of just honestly a real raw story to get understanding of who I am as a person and kind of how I grew up. Like, I am not the most athletically gifted person at all. I don't have any of these athletic bones in my body. I do not know my father and did not have this crazy guidance to be put in these programs to understand different things. I did not, like, everything that you see when it comes to Trey Burns is built, self-made, built. Every avenue of it. When it comes to the way he posts his stories, his reels, his posts, like everything. I've made who I am today off the back of my adversities and captivating off of them and not folding through them. So if there's anything, I'm going to leave you with this for my 30 to 40 minute rant about part one of how I got into this light is you define your success story regardless of what you say. I'm not saying things are going to be easy, but things are always going to be fucking worth it. Don't ever lie about who you are to the core, because your truths are your truths and no one else can take those from you. And there's a lot more honesty and a lot more power within your truths that you've been through within the course of your life than there is not. So never shy away from who you are as a person. Never deviate from the plan that you know that is true for you. And that little gut check you feel, that intuition, trust that thing, because that's the truest version of you. And what's on, you don't ever got to know how you're going to get to the next level. You don't ever got to know how you're going to get through any of these storms that you're going through. But what you do got to know is that you got you at all times. You're the common denominator. And if you want to do absolutely fucking anything in your life, all you have to do is decide that you can do it, decide that you want to do it, believe that you can fucking do it, put your 10 toes down, chin up, chest out, and don't fucking give up. See you in the next episode.